Once you've made your order from a Chinese supplier and you have your products ready to ship over to America, how do you actually determine how to ship those products from China over to America? And most likely, if you're watching this video, you're trying to get these products from China to an Amazon FBA warehouse. So in this video, I'm going to tell you about how to choose between things like air freight, air courier, and sea freight, and how exactly to organize it with your supplier to get your products cheaply and quickly from China to America.
Okay guys, so the most confusing thing about international shipping is that most of us are accustomed to what they call air courier shipping and door-to-door shipping. So you order something and UPS or USPS or wherever it is in the world, that local post office delivers it straight to your door. Now this is possible when you're ordering products from China and you're having them shipped, but it's not the norm. You see, there's basically three types of shipping that you can have. You can have air courier. An air courier is basically what you're accustomed to when you order something with UPS or FedEx or one of those other popular carriers. The next type of shipping is air freight. Now, air freight sounds a lot like air courier, but it's not the same thing. Air freight is basically your supplier takes all your goods, it could be pallets worth of goods, and they stick them onto an airplane, and that airplane drops them off at the airport, and you have to go pick them up yourselves. And with sea freight, it's pretty similar to air freight actually, except your supplier takes your goods, they put them on an ocean liner, and that ocean liner drops them off at a dock close to some port near your location. So those are the three types of shipping that you have: air courier, air freight, and sea freight. Now I'm going to get into what each one of these are in a little bit more detail here. Okay, the first thing that you need to understand when differentiating these three types of shipping services is price. Air courier is by far the most expensive shipping service that you can have, and sea freight is by far the cheapest, and air freight is somewhere in between. Now, when should you ship via each of these methods? Okay, this is a broad generalization, but for an order under 50 kilograms, you're probably best off to ship via air courier. For an order in between 50 kilograms and 200 kilograms, you're probably better off to ship via air freight. And anything above that, you're probably better off to ship via sea freight. Now, prices for air freight right now are anywhere from about $5 to $7 per kilogram. Sea freight, it costs about $1,500 for a 20-foot container, and you can fit thousands and thousands of pounds in a 20-foot container. And air courier, it ranges very, very broadly, but expect to pay somewhere around $10 to $20 per kilogram. Okay, so how do you ship something with one of these different shipping methods? Air courier is very easy. If you've ever shipped something with UPS or FedEx, it's basically the exact same, except your products are in China. Your supplier will simply arrange to have your goods shipped via FedEx or UPS or TNT, one of these local air couriers, and arrange to have them shipped to your doorstep. Your supplier will simply pay for the charges up front, and they'll add these costs of shipping onto your invoice. It's very, very simple. Air courier is pretty much foolproof. Now, when you get into the world, though, of sea freight and air freight, things become quite a bit more complex. And they become more complex because you need to start using things called freight forwarders. Now, a freight forwarder is basically a broker who can arrange for air freight or sea freight on container ships and airplanes. You cannot just book freight on one of these modes of transportation yourself. You need to have a freight forwarder arrange it for you. So I'm going to get into now how to find a freight forwarder and some of the complexities involved with freight forwarders. So to find a freight forwarder, you can do one of two things. You can do it yourself, or you can ask your supplier in China to arrange your shipment for you. Now, if you want your supplier to arrange the shipment for you in China, simply tell them, hey, can you arrange my shipment to be shipped from your factory to XYZ location? So I'm in Vancouver right now. I would simply ask my supplier to ship the products to me in Vancouver. Now, they'll do this in one of two ways. They'll either simply add the price of the freight onto your invoice, or they may say, okay, here is our CIF price. And that CIF basically means cost, insurance, and freight to XYZ location. So wherever that is, where you are in the world. So your supplier will be happy to arrange the shipment for you. They normally will not try to profit off the shipping, but at the same time, they're not going to shop that rate around, trying to get the absolute lowest shipping rate for you. Now, the other option that you can do is to arrange the shipment yourself. Now, there are two really popular websites right now that are kind of brokers for freight forwarders. What these websites do, and they are freightos.com and flexport.com. What these websites will do is they'll basically shop your shipment around real time and figure out which freight forwarder will give you the best rate from your Chinese supplier's factory all the way to whatever location it is that you want to ship your products to. Again, whether that's simply just to the port close to you, or to an Amazon FBA warehouse, or somewhere in between. So when you are going to have an estimate done for your shipment, chances are that freight forwarding website or even your Chinese supplier is simply going to ask, okay, what city is your shipment going to? Now, be really careful about this. They are asking for your city, not your exact address. And the reason for this, as I mentioned, is that they by default are going to take your shipment, put it on a boat or put it on an airplane, and ship it to a port close to you. So I'm fortunate I'm in Vancouver. I'm not very far from the port. But what would happen is that if I had simply asked my supplier or freight forwarder to ship my order to Vancouver, I would get a call once the shipment arrived, and they would say, hey, Dave, when are you coming down to the port to pick up your shipment? And you can imagine if this was pallets and pallets worth of products, I cannot fit these in my Honda Accord. You cannot fit these even in a pickup truck. You need to have an actual trucking company arrange to have your products picked up from the port and delivered to your doorstep, or again, it doesn't matter if it's an FBA warehouse or a 3PL. But the point is, you need somebody to pick up those products from the port and deliver them to your ultimate end location. So make sure that unless you are comfortable handling this extra step, that when you're doing this freight forwarding quote or you're asking your supplier to ship these products to you, make sure that you specify that you need door-to-door delivery service and that you enter the end address of the location where your products are going to. Otherwise, you're going to get surprised when your shipment shows up at a port that could be literally hundreds or even thousands of miles away from you. Make sure that you get door-to-door delivery service. Okay, at this point, I should mention something called Incoterms. Incoterms are a fancy way of describing who is going to pay what charges of the shipping between you and your supplier. There's two basic Incoterms that you're going to see. You're going to see FOB and CIF. If you've been dabbling in importing and going on to Alibaba getting price quotes, you've probably seen on the end of the price quotes something like FOB Shanghai or FOB Shenzhen. Or maybe you've seen EXW Shenzhen or EXW Shanghai. Now, these shipping terms are very different, and each of them are going to cost you a lot more or less money. Now, when something is quoted FOB, that means that the supplier will pay on their penny to ship those products from their factory all the way to the closest port within China. And if it's EXW, you are going to pay for those costs to get those products from the factory to the seaport or the airport. Now, you might be thinking, well, geez, that can't be a lot of money, so who really cares? Well, it can actually be a lot of money. Your supplier's factory could be extremely far away from a seaport or an airport, and overland shipping in China is not cheap. It's very comparable to what it is in America or Canada or any other country. And it literally could be a difference between hundreds or thousands of dollars if you have to pay to have your goods shipped from the factory in China to the port. So my biggest tip to you is just simply to ask your supplier to quote all their prices in FOB. If they give you an EXW price, tell them, okay, thank you. Now, what is your FOB price? That just makes it a lot more transparent for you, and it's easier to compare costs. So before your goods actually get to you or your Amazon FBA warehouse, there's a few things that you need to do. First, you need to pay your freight forwarder for any outstanding money due to them. Second, you need to prove that the shipment is actually your shipment. And third, you need to arrange to have your goods cleared through customs. Now, these 3 steps only apply if you've shipped your products via air freight or sea freight. If you ship them via air courier, don't worry about these steps because that's all kind of included in those really outrageous fees that you paid to have your products shipped via air courier. So the first thing you need to do, like I mentioned, is you need to arrange to have your freight forwarder paid for all that money that you owe them for shipping your products to you. Now, you're going to owe them for any of the actual sea or air freight charges, but they're also going to charge you for some miscellaneous, what they call destination charges. And these are going to be things like an invoice fee, a dock fee, and a bunch of other more or less BS fees. And expect to pay anywhere from about $150 to $500 in these miscellaneous destination charges. The second thing you need to do is that you need to prove that these goods that are in this container or on this airplane are actually your products. And how you do this is one of 2 ways. The complicated way is that you have your supplier send you what they call an original bill of lading, and then you give this original bill of lading that says your name on it. So Dave Bryant owns these goods basically, and you give that original bill of lading to your freight forwarder, and they are then satisfied that you own these goods. That's the complicated way to do things. The better way to do things and the more convenient way to do things is to ask your supplier to telex release the goods to you immediately. And when your supplier does this, when they telex release the goods, it basically notifies the freight forwarder that, okay, Dave Bryant is the actual owner of these products, and when he comes and picks them up, he's the actual owner, so please do release these goods to him. And the third and final thing that you need to do before your goods arrive to you is that you need to have them cleared through customs. So when you have your garlic presses or whatever widget it is you bought being shipped from China into America, or again, whatever country it is that they're going to, that country most likely needs some money in taxes, aka duties. So garlic presses, I don't know what the duty rate is, but they're probably somewhere around 10%. So if I ordered $10,000 worth of garlic presses, I owe the government of America $1,000. And they will not let me pick up those goods until I pay that $1,000. Now, you can technically go through the whole customs clearance process yourself. I have done it myself. It is a lot of work, and if you haven't cried in your adult life for a long time, expect to cry trying to clear customs on your own. So I highly recommend that you employ a customs broker. The customs broker I use is Pacific Customs Brokers. I have some friends who use Great World Customs Brokerage. There are a lot of different customs brokers. It doesn't matter where they are in America, they can clear customs for you. So you should actually arrange with a customs broker well before your shipment ever arrives to have your customs broker set you up for the paperwork that they're going to need and to make sure that your goods are cleared through customs the second they arrive in your destination country. Okay guys, I hope that answers any questions you have about international shipping and how to get your order from China to America or wherever in the world it's going. I know international shipping can be a little bit daunting, and if you have any questions, comment in the questions box below and I'll be happy to answer them there. And as always, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/econcrew.